music is for the people. The musician is both a performer and a part of the audience. It's for this exact reason that musical communities always run far deeper and are more diverse than just singular genres. There's always people who musically their styles don't compute so much that match together in these unions of sort of friendship behind the music. It goes deeper than the music. Think in the 70s when punk was really kicking off in England, especially in the north. There was nothing really punk on the radio, and then the only thing that broke through the radio that wasn't the de facto sound was reggae, and the people more likely to be in the punk subculture were also the people more likely to be of lower income, which meant they were some of the only people living alongside descendants of Afro-Caribbean people within the UK, not just descendants but actual Afro-Caribbean immigrants at the time, and they would have had a much more sense of community compared to other listeners of the radio from different areas where really they would have viewed reggae as just black music and wouldn't listen to it or wouldn't, want association with such a people because still racism ran so deep rooted and they had no connections even at this time personally with individuals of that race and of that part of the world. But punks did, and punks, lots of punks' best friends would have been, the son of a Jamaican immigrant who lived in the same block of flats, or, they would have shopped in their local community and bought exclusively from, rather than the supermarkets and the big stores, the corner shops run by, the elderly woman from Ghana or whatever. Like, they had this sense of community in social living, and then the music of punk being, the anti-mainstream, because reggae was the one thing breaking the mainstream, those two became really joint, and, we got the social community where the actual punk subculture outside of the music was really sort of defensive and protective of these BAM individuals. Throughout history, they've always been really progressive in racial matters, but also musically we got things like ska, and we got those punk bands, like the Specials, where they were like sort of the first real bands where it was a friendship between white individuals and black individuals. We got sort of that community, and that was unheard of in the mainstream. The only real things we'd seen before that were racist acts such as the Minstrels, basically, where there was any form of combination. But punk and reggae allowed actual friendship to build an actual community between these two people, because yes, they were different races, but ultimately they were the same type of people. They were both treated for different reasons as second-class citizens. The majority of punk were the lower class, the working class of the second-hand citizens in the UK, and then people behind these reggae, these Afro-Caribbean musics were treated more severely second-class, yes, I will say that, but just because of their skin colour, which was terrible, but it happened, and it's only because it happened that this bond was allowed to happen, sort of, and it's not just this sort of bond. There's, think in North Europe, things like Scandinavia. Folk, of course, is going to be very big there. Folk's big anywhere traditional, but folk is very big in Scandinavia, and places near Scandinavia and in Scandinavia are there's a very high death metal presence. A lot of famous heavy metal bands come from Scandinavian countries, but there's such a community between these death metal musicians and the traditional folk musicians of these Northern Europe states, but you wouldn't expect that, but they are like the friendliest bunch, just as punk was with reggae, or, soul was with drum and bass, or whatever. There was personal communities behind these music because of the majority behind one genre and another may not have been the same people, but they were going through the same things. You know, you think Marvin Gaye wasn't living the exact same life as Bruce Lee, but because they could reckon with sort of familiarities in their life, they can call each other friends and icons, and they can call each other inspirations and identities, basically, because within music we break those boundaries and embrace the few connecting factors because they're the most important behind the music. Those are the content we create. And music is more than genre, and musical communities will always be more than genre, because music is for the people, as I said, and we just need to listen and hear it out and understand why we're listening to what we're listening to and why it is our music and what other types of music parallel with it, basically. Find your reggae to your own punk, basically.